Another shared news from home. We have some exciting new details about next week's episode of The Bachelorette. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Gabby Ganta and Avery Grooms. Hi, guys.
Hi, Fiona.
Hello. So you guys that are joining us live, make sure you send all of your thoughts, all of your questions to us in the chat, because at the end we're going to look through as many as we can. And as always, we want to know all of your opinions on all things Bachelorette. Let's just dive right in, you guys, because there seems like there's a lot of eventful activities going on in next week's episode. ABC has confirmed that the contestants will be participating in a musical competition. The episode synopsis says, quote, 7 men compete for the only one-on-one date by writing and performing a love song for Tayshia. So not just performing some like well-known love song that we've all heard. They have to write it themselves, which I feel like is very intense. They also teased that the winner of this contest, so the recipient of that one-on-one date, is going to make some pretty significant progress with Tayshia. They said, quote, the winner of the musical competition opens up during an emotional conversation with Tayshia, and they may have more in common than they both realize. So I am dying to get your thoughts on this contest, you guys. Gabby, what are your thoughts? I mean, we might see some hidden talents revealed.
We definitely might. I think it's always fun when guys who can sing or maybe write poetry get on a date like this because they can really shine. And, maybe not so much for the other guys, but I'm sure they're going to just have fun with it. These guys have been so flexible all season. So I think it's going to be fine and it's going to be a fun date. And the fact that the person who wins gets a one-on-one date with her, I think the stakes are just going to be so high because of that. The tensions are going to be so high. These guys are going to be putting a lot of pressure on themselves so they can get that extra time with her. But I'm excited for this one. It looks really fun and cute. What do you think, Avery?
Yes, I am super excited. I love contests that allow to show hidden talents and creativity. And I think something like this will be very telling because the men will have to write their own love story. So that allows them to express how they feel about Tayshia if they haven't said it yet in kind of a creative way. So I think stuff like this is way more serious than like a dodgeball game. So hopefully everyone brings their A game and great love songs.
Totally. No, you are definitely right. This is like the stakes are getting higher. They've got to, emote something. They can't just wrestle or play dodgeball. They're definitely changing the rules a little bit. We also got some new details on the second group date. We're going to be getting some more Bachelor Nation cameos this week, which is always fun. We have former Bachelorette Becca Kufrin and Sydney. Oh goodness, I always forget how to say her last name. Sydney Lotuaco from season 23 of The Bachelor. They're going to be stopping by, and they are helping Tayshia plan a, quote, outrageous game of Truth or Dare for 6 of the men. So again, no physical activity here. We're going to be sharing some truths, doing what I have to assume are going to be crazy dares. Based on some of the photos they've released, it looks like the 6 guys on this date are going to be Bennett, Damar, Kenny, Blake, Zach C, and Riley. So a really good group. There seems to also be some sort of proposal element. I don't know if it's a dare or what the deal is, but we can see from the photos a lot of guys are taking a knee in front of Tayshia. Some other photos, it appears as though she's feeding all of the men something. And they've also been given cameras, like the other guys that aren't participating are sort of paparazzi style, taking photos of the moments. Definitely seems like it's going to be an interesting date. Avery, what on earth do you think is going on here?
I'm not quite sure. It looks like maybe a fake proposal, and then the eating could be like they're sharing their wedding cake and the other guy's the photographer. I don't playing like fake engagement, fake marriage type thing. who knows? But I think Truth or Dare will also be super intense, and hopefully there will be some very truthful truths, and we'll get to learn more about these men and some daring dares. What do you think, Gabby?
Yeah, that was a great guess, Avery. I was going to say the same thing about like practicing proposing. Maybe these guys need practice with that. There's the little photographer on the side. So I don't know. It looks cute. They, like I said, are always up for anything to impress Tayshia. So this looks like another moment for that. And I love that Sydney and Becca are here this week because I think they're going to just be another fun presence on the show and give Tayshia some great advice. I know Tayshia and Sydney are pretty good friends because they met on Colton's season. So great to have them, and I'm excited for this little date to go down.
Totally. It's like producers got very creative. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't expecting this many cameos just because of the bubble scenario, but they clearly brought a lot of people in, kept them quarantined, and it's been totally fun to see all of these familiar faces. Aside from these group dates, they gave us a little tease. It looks like Ben and Ed will be shaking things up this week. The synopsis says, quote, Ben and Ed separately decide to steal some extra time with the Bachelorette before the cocktail party to assess where they stand with her, leading to a hilarious outcome. So, first of all, I'm glad that it's a hilarious outcome and not a dramatic outcome because stealing time, two guys, I mean, it sounds like it has all of the ingredients for a disaster. We did see Ben sort of blow his moment last week. His whole idea to wait to the end to try to be the last one to get time with her and then running out of time and disappointing Tayshia. It was not the greatest moment. And Ed has basically been consistently stirring the pot since the first time we heard him speak. So what are your thoughts on this, Gabby? I mean, why these two? Why are they stealing extra time? What are they worried about? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I think they both are going to want extra time with her this week. And Ben is just such a quirky sweetheart. I'm not surprised at all that it ended well and, you know, in a funny situation rather than in a fight or something like that, like Chasen. So I think Ben especially is just not going to make the mistake of not grabbing her for time this week. So they might have a little run in, or he might, you know, step on Ed's toes a little bit, or not sure exactly what goes down. But I know for sure that Ben is going to make sure nothing gets in the way of his extra time with Tayshia this week. What about you, Avery? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, last week, Ben, he had the right idea, just not the right approach. We all know he means well, so maybe this time he tried to borrow her for some extra time just to make up for the lack of time last week that he lost. But I'm glad they said it was a humorous outcome because when I saw Ed was involved also, I was like, oh, we have some drama coming. But I wonder what this humor is, but that sounds great. We love a good laugh, especially with Ed involved. That takes a turn.
We do love a good laugh, and we know drama's coming. I mean, a laugh is a great relief because we've already seen from the teaser there's going to be some drama on its way this week. They gave us a little more context as to what may be causing that drama. Apparently, quote, all hell breaks loose as Tayshia discovers what some men have been saying about her right before the rose ceremony. So in the teaser they shared with us after the episode, we did see that moment where she like goes in, she gathers all the men up and she addresses them, basically saying she's happy to escort anyone out who wants to cause drama in the house. And then they gave us that all too familiar shot of the car driving away, you know, sort of insinuating that someone does go home. So what are your thoughts? I mean, we've seen Ed and Chasen reach a bit of a boiling point. We have to, you know, assume that's going to continue. Do we really think that any of these guys are like trash talking her behind her back? They're also head over heels. What are your thoughts, Gabby? What's causing this dramatic moment?
I think right about this time in the season is when people's true colors really start to show. So if there are any guys that aren't there for the right reasons, I think she's going to start noticing. So that might be what happens next week when these guys are, you know, seemingly talking bad about her behind her back, or just red flags are coming up within the house and she ends up finding out about them. from what we've seen so far, the only person I could think of is Chasen, just because he's said a few weird things and, his intentions aren't completely clear in different cases. Him in the house versus him with Tayshia, it's hard to tell at this point. She certainly gave him another chance to be back next week, but it could really happen with any of the other guys that we are starting to get to know better, that we just find out, they're really not here for Tayshia, and we know she's not here for that. So it makes sense that she gets a little upset at the end of the episode, and I'm interested to see what exactly happens after that, if she sends somebody home right then or not. Avery, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the show, everyone seems super smitten with Tayshia. So I was wondering, what could they possibly be saying bad about her? But like you said, we're getting to the point in the show where you start to learn a lot more about people and red flags do appear. So I don't think maybe it was necessarily driven by Tayshia. Maybe it's other men tension with each other, and then they start talking bad about Tayshia, and we really see the ugly.
Totally. I mean, listen, anything is possible. You guys are both so right. This is going to be that turning point. It's like we're finally sort of reaching the normal pacing of a Bachelorette season, and you're totally right. This is when things start to go off the rails. This is when connections start to form. Jealousy starts to, test these friendships. It's definitely going to be a pivotal episode. I want to do some rose ceremony math, which is literally the only kind of math that I'm willing to do because I'm horrible at math. It looks like from the pictures we have seen, and of course, disclaimer, we have this photo of this table sitting here. Some roses could have already been given out. We're just sort of playing out what this possibility would look like. But we see 9 roses on that table. We know there are 16 guys, and we know that she is running out of time. So they might have to make some more aggressive cuts this week, which of course will start to be heartbreaking. Interestingly enough, from another photo, this is perhaps a bit of a spoiler, but ABC is putting it out there, so cover your ears if you're nervous. But we can see on Noah and Ivan, they've got roses appearing to be walking into the ceremony, so maybe things go well for them on some group dates earlier on, which I think tracks based on what we've seen so far. So 4 to 5 guys could be going home. I want to know your take, Avery. You surprised to see Noah and Ivan, potentially perform well on group dates this week? And are you going to be sad to see 5 guys potentially leaving us?
I am a bit surprised if Noah did get this rose on a group date, just because he got the last group date rose on the group date he wasn't originally even supposed to be on. So if she took that opportunity to give that rose to him for a second time on another group date, that says a lot. So that kind of came to a surprise to me. Unless it's a one-on-one, that makes a little more sense. But what did you think, Gabby? Are you surprised to see Ivan and Noah with roses?
I think I am. This could be also a photo for the end of last week's episode, sort of. So the same, it's like
that's
the
what I
same
was
guys
just
who
thinking.
got the roses.
It could be his old one.
Probably.
So I don't know. I mean,
Right?
it's hard to tell from these photos that they put out. It's seemingly next week, but what's been confusing for me during this season in general is that I've been watching The Bachelor for so many seasons. So I think the traditional format is, you start an episode and then stuff goes down and then it ends with the rose ceremony and then on to the next episode and the same thing. But things have just been so crazy recently that rose ceremonies are in the middle of the episode or they get canceled. And so it's just where are we even at? Did we have the rose ceremony last week? Is it now this week? I can't even keep up with all of that. So it's hard to track all of that. But I think in terms of next week, I mean, cutting so many guys is going to be necessary because we're moving so quickly. But the first rose ceremony, I think we mentioned, we barely even knew the guys that went home. So it wasn't, it wasn't a deep cut. It wasn't scarring. We don't necessarily miss them. But this week, we know all the guys that could be going home, and it could be people that we've really gotten to like. So I think it's going to start hurting a lot more each rose ceremony that comes through.
Totally. You are so right. These rose ceremonies have been so crazy. I think now that we've said this out loud, I'm working it through in my head. I feel like you're right. I think Noah got his rose at the end of the last episode, so we're probably going to pick up there. Maybe we'll see Ivan get one. We'll see some more connections get made. But that feels like they're going to follow this pattern of dumping the rose ceremony in the middle, which is a huge turn of events. This season is definitely very different, to say the least. You are right, though. We are going to probably have our first painful rose ceremony this week. You know, painful, I'm being dramatic, but we're going to lose some of our faves, which is always tough. Let's see what the people in the chat are thinking, who they may be nervous to lose, who they're rooting for. We want to try to get to as many comments and questions as we can. So if you haven't yet, make sure you send them in. Let's see if we have any to get started with right now. Any thoughts, comments, I guess concerns? People could be nervous. Let's see what Lauren has to say. She says, I am convinced the only reason Chasen and Ed are still here is because of the producers. This is such a valid point. We have heard many a retired Bachelor Nation member say that they were encouraged to keep a troublemaker by producers for good TV. So I think you're totally right, Lauren. That could be it.
Katie says, I remember when they did the songwriting competition for a 101 date on season 13 of The Bachelor. Yes, I remember a couple of these as well. I think it's a cute way to get guys to tap into their emotions and, you know, be a little bit romantic with Tayshia or, you know, whoever is the Bachelorette. So this is a common date. Of course, they're bringing it back because it's something you can easily do in the quarantine. But I'm excited to get these guys' take on it next week.
Leslie said, step 1, fake proposal. Step 2, fake wedding snaps. I mean, that's what it looks like they were doing on that group date, a fake proposal, a fake wedding. Still don't know because they come up with crazy group date ideas. So it honestly could be anything, but that's what it's looking like.
Totally. All right, let's see. Helen Ann says, remember the trailers? We have seen Zach and Tayshia in wedding clothes. Honestly, Helen Ann, I'm going to have to go back and look at the trailers. I'm assuming we've seen them dressed up. I'm not exactly sure what moment she's referring to, but this is why we dissect these teasers and these trailers, because you never know what is hidden in them. That is for sure.
Peter's golf cart. Oh my gosh. First of all, I love this account. This is incredible. If you all didn't watch Peter's season, this classic golf cart is how he, you know, busted his head open and got the scar that left him not as handsome as before, I should say, for the entirety of his season. So first of all, love this account. Let's see what Peter's golf cart had to say. He said, I really like Ben, but I also like Ivan and Brendan. Help. Okay, this is exactly me right now. I keep going back and forth on who is my favorite, who I'm shipping, and who I would give my rose to. So I'm just going to have to keep being team Ben, Ivan, and Brendan with you until we get a little farther into the season.
Ken said she literally needs to pick Brendan. Yes, or Ben or Ivan. But love Brendan.
It's so funny to see.
Yeah, top 3.
It's so funny to see. We are like getting some front runners, and typically Bachelor Nation is on the same page. So I love to see us all team Ben, Brendan, and Ivan. Anna G right here. She says, okay, I love Ben. Dips. If it doesn't work out, you heard it here first. He's Anna's. No one else can have him.
Courtney said, pretty sure Chasen paraphrased Eminem during that rose ceremony. Oh, wow. I don't remember that. But I could definitely see him quoting Eminem, thinking he's like really cool or something. Like, you know, if you only had one chance, one opportunity, like, would you take it? That's the only one I could think of. But
all right, Ali said, so we're all in agreement that we hate Chasen, right? Not everyone, but he is receiving some dislike. But I still think it's still too soon to tell. He could come back stronger, and maybe he just had a rough start. He hasn't done anything horrible, but also he's definitely not one of our front runners. I know we all can agree on that.
Let's see. Teddy says, ooh, I'm going to have to lean in here. I'm blind. Sorry, guys. On Bachelor Fan Take, he put the video of the guys walking into the rose ceremony in slow-mo. Okay, Zach, Noah, and Ivan all had roses. So there will be 12 guys at the end of the first rose ceremony. Interesting. So apparently if you slow down that teaser, you can get a little more of a reveal than we saw in these photos. The lengths people will go to, I swear, Bachelor Nation is full of detectives. We'll have to try that video out in slow-mo. That wouldn't surprise me, though, if we saw those 3 with roses going in. I feel like that kind of tracks, so we'll have to see what happens.
Okay, for our last question, we have Teddy again, and they ask, do you have final 4 predictions? Ooh, that's so tough right now. Well, I would have to say Brendan, Ben, Ivan, and I'm going to go with Bennett. That might be a hot take, but it does seem like they start falling. So those are going to be my top 4. I would say don't quote me on it, but this video is going to exist for the end of the internet. So I think everyone will know if I get it wrong. What about you guys? Do you have any final 4 predictions right now? Fiona?
Let me think. I agree with you. I think Brendan. I think Ivan. I think Ben. And honestly, maybe Zach. I don't know. She seems to be kind of smitten with Zach. Those are the names that are popping in my head. So don't quote me either. But my early gut tells me Brendan and Ivan for sure. I don't know if I can fill those other 2 slots just yet. What about you, Avery?
I know, maybe Zach for sure, Brendan, Ivan, Ben. I don't know, maybe DeMar can come out of nowhere, Spencer. I was just looking at the promo pictures for next week, and I just saw her body language when she was talking to Spencer and DeMar specifically, other than those 3 we just mentioned. And she seemed very connected and into them, and her hands were all over them. So I'm just gonna go off of those. Maybe they can turn into one of the front runners, but I don't know. But for sure, I think it's Ben, Ivan, and maybe DeMar. And then who else did we say?
Brendan, I think.
Brendan, for sure, Brendan, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, we are obviously just going to have to wait and see. I feel like every week, obviously, things become more and more clear. Looks like we have a great episode in store for this week. Tayshia, I think it's safe to say, is exceeding our expectations. She is the wonderful Bachelorette we all knew she would be. You guys, if we didn't get a chance to get to your comment, make sure you hop down to the comment section. We want to know all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your predictions. So make sure you share them with us down there. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future lives or any future videos, because we'll be covering The Bachelorette all season long. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring. You can follow me on socials at Fiona Zaring. Gabby, where can they find you?
You can follow me at Gabby Ganta. Avery, where can they find you?
You can follow me at Avery Grooms.
Amazing. Thanks, you guys, and thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.